I'm Anna Manuel, the co-host alongside Dr. Maggie, here to just find out from a little bit of an outside perspective how this all works, what's the secret sauce, and how others can potentially join in and expect the same results.
Hey everyone, today we're interviewing June, who is a medical provider. She has struggled for a long time dealing with celiac, osteoarthritis, pain, and neuropathic pain. I can't wait for you to see her journey after just 2 months of being in the Transform program and where is she today. Just you wait. All right, June, I'd love for you to introduce yourself to our audience.
Hi, I'm June. I'm 51 years old. I've been a physician assistant in ear, nose, and throat for 18 and a half years. I came into this program suffering with chronic issues for the past 15 to 18 years, also such as celiac disease, severe osteoarthritis, fibromyalgia, which was diagnosed recently in the past 6 months, and neuropathic pain.
So 51, I'm 52. We're almost twinsies, girlfriend. And just a question for me, I realized looking back just how long I've suffered with autoimmunity. I can think back to when I was probably 6 or 7 with chronic constipation. That probably was the beginning, along with some recurrent types of infections. For you, I want to now you're a medical provider, right? You've gone through the program. By the way, where are you at post-program?
I finished my 10th week last week.
So literally 1 week out from the end of the
Transform
program. All right, 1 week out from the program. She's been working with me for about 2 months. So my question for you is, well, how long, looking back now, do you see all the signs of autoimmunity in your life?
Well, when I got into your program and learned from your teachings, I was like, wow. I mean, ever since I was little, I had really bad seborrheic dermatitis. But at that time, we were like, oh, severe dandruff. But I had severe seborrheic dermatitis. And then in high school, college, I started having a lot of fibroadenomas in my breasts.
Yeah.
At the age of 18, 19, 20, I've had like 3 surgeries to remove pretty big fibroadenomas from my breasts.
Now you're going to know why. Keep going.
I thought maybe it's just my hormones. I was like, I wonder why I'm having these issues when my mom never had issues with this, you know what I mean? And I had severe pain during my menses to the point where I was like, couldn't function. So I figured that was part of my hormonal issues at that time too.
So question, how much was pain playing in your life prior to joining this program?
I would have off and on joint pain, but I never had severe pain like I did, which started in December. I was having pain all over my body, my wrists, my fingers, my knees, my ankles, my feet, my back, my shoulders, just everywhere.
I mean, you sound like me when I was going through this. So pain everywhere. And this is when you were diagnosed with fibro, correct?
Yeah. And, not just as medical providers, but I think everybody, like you said, we try to chase so many diagnoses because we're like so freaked out. Oh, is it RA? Is it lupus? Is it MS? Yeah. And then that freaks us out. Well, for me anyway, and I'm stressed out doubly when I'm thinking that. I'm like going to my rheumatologist. Can you check me for this? Can you check me for this?
Negative. But you're like, but I still have pain.
Right. I mean, and they're like, well, try this med. And I'm not a big person on conventional meds, even though I'm in conventional medicine.
We were conventional drug dealers.
Yes, we deal the drugs, but I don't want to take them,
Hell no.
I mean, I even had my primary care physician literally beg me to take an antidepressant, but I was like, I'm not depressed.
I took Prozac for like a decade.
Yeah.
And I'm not depressed.
Right. And I was like, sorry, I'm not. Yeah, my husband just passed away, and I'm sad, of course, and it was a hard time, but this is not depression from, his illness, or I'm just frustrated and trying to figure out why I'm so sick,
So question, when did the neuropathic pain come in?
The neuropathic pain started in December because I was getting a lot of recurrent infections, like with an abscess. So I was on like multiple antibiotics.
Yeah.
And then after the abscess got better, I got shingles.
Me too.
You guys are twinsies.
Yeah.
We talked. You were the one who during the program had shingles. I had it 36 on my left hip prior to going into early menopause. So that shingles and autoimmunity, people don't realize that those are, they're co-flaring at the same time. They feed each other.
And it was like right after I got over the shingles, a couple of weeks later, when the pain started.
Where was your neuropathic pain?
At that time, it was just in my wrists, my fingers, my knees, and my feet and ankles.
So throughout your body. Okay. So suffice it to say, your top 3 symptoms when you joined the program definitely was neuropathic pain, severe all over body pain from fibromyalgia. You said celiac. Any gastrointestinal issues at all whatsoever?
Well, with the pain, I forgot to mention that sickly fatigue that you get, you just can't seem to function.
Yeah. And you were working full time, lady.
Yeah.
What level was the fatigue, 0 to 10?
It was pretty bad throughout the day, like an 8.
Woman.
But when you know, when you're treating patients, you try to put that to the back and you just push yourself. But I had to finally give it up because it was getting too much.
You mean you had to quit your job because of this?
Well, I was contemplating seriously on quitting my job, but my coworkers, my nurses, my patients were like, please don't quit. Just take some leave. So I took a 3-month leave, and it took a lot to do that because
I know
as a provider, as you know, we just don't want to give up on our patients or whatever. But I felt like if I couldn't handle it, then I couldn't treat them to the best of my ability.
What happened at the end of that leave?
When I put in for my leave, I'm always on Facebook, not just to stalk my friends, but
you mean to stalk me then?
Yeah, to look at programs. And I was clicking on a lot of autoimmune programs, and I think yours was one of them too. And then one time I was watching one of your interviews with one of your patients, and it was a 21 or 22-year-old patient that you had. And it's just something about that interview just went ding, ding, ding in my head. And I was like, in my heart, my best friend was like, God talks to you, June, and you'll know what to do. And God talked to me that day and said, hey, this is the woman for you. She's going to help you. I don't know how to explain it. Usually I stalk people for a long time because I'm a frugal person. I grew up, in an Asian family. We're so frugal. And I was like, cheap. Cheap. And I'll be hemming and hawing. But I was like, you know what? I am at the bottom of my bucket as I talk to my patients about our bucket being our immune system. And my bucket is just overflowing and I need it to be emptied out. And this is the person who's going to help me because there's something about her that just caught my attention. So it's like God planned it all out for me. I see it that way,
I know we were talking earlier and you sent some responses in about you tried so many different things before you found Dr. Maggie. Maybe tell us what some of those were. And then I want to ask you a question about why you chose this program.
Well, 3-4 years ago, I had some joint pain, but what really hurt me the most 3 years ago was that chronic fatigue, that feverish feeling. And I was like, going to doctor after doctor after doctor. I've never been to so many doctors in my whole life. I have a specialist in every field.
I mean, it's like, how many specialists do we need?
Yes. I was like,
before you need a psychiatrist.
Exactly.
This is driving me nuts.
Exactly. And even my colleagues were like, June, I would love to find something for you, but there's nothing. So I was very frustrated. So I decided to delve into it myself. And that's when I came into the leaky gut AIP diet. So I decided to do the autoimmune diet. I did a food allergy testing on myself. I did the food sensitivity testing on myself because we do that in our office. I took Dr. Josh Axe's test to see what kind of gut I had. So when I started it, I was on the AIP diet, the Candida diet. I was already on a gluten-free diet and a low sugar diet. So I was like going crazy. I was like, what do I eat?
Right.
But 2 months out of what I was doing, I was like, is it helping me? It did help me in the sense with the fatigue, but everything wasn't better. I've had chronic hair loss, and as women, I'm a very vain person. I think we all are as women, and I've had hair falling out since 8 years now.
Been there, lady.
So I finally said, you know what? Let me stop being cheap once again, and let me go to a functional medicine doctor, and I did. And he was great, but it was just throwing a lot of information at me. And I understood it, but I just didn't understand, hey, I'm here to, I just want to be treated, But I think he treated me more as a provider versus a patient. And I was just confused. I'm not saying he didn't help me. He helped me with my digestion at that time, but I just wasn't satisfied. It wasn't the whole, as a provider myself, I like to treat the whole patient as a well-rounded person versus just one thing.
You're a rare provider at that, lady, especially for an ear, nose, and throat physician assistant.
Yeah, that's why I was drawn to you.
ENT is not holistic.
No, we're not. But I love functional medicine. But that's what drew me to you because, some functional medicine doctors will concentrate on just the gut or this or that, but you encompass the whole thing, especially the mindset. The mindset, I didn't realize how difficult that is. That's the most difficult part of the program for me.
Yes.
Because if you look under the dictionary under stress, you'll see my face.
Oh gosh.
Because
you would have seen my face for 10 years.
Yes, because my mom is always like that. And I think I've taken after her. Yeah. And we stress about every little thing, especially with the health issues. I'm beyond overloaded with stress. Going to the functional medicine doctor at that time too, obviously didn't really help me that much because every year I would have something going on. I've had so many surgeries. I don't think I could have any more surgeries because I've been cut left and right all over my body.
That's a really common experience for people with autoimmune. How many more body parts, how many specialists and GIST do you need to go see? And how many body parts needs to be removed before you're like, can we just work on stopping the process that's causing damage to these organs?
One interesting fact was I had fibroids, which I didn't know because I was going to the bathroom every 2 minutes.
You didn't just have that problem with your breasts. I could have already told you have fibroids, lady, too, because what are fibroids? Fibroadenomas in the uterus from hormone imbalances. They're both the same thing, same source, same feeder.
Right. And it was just growing like astronomically really fast. So it was just a lot of inflammation going on in my body. I had a parotid mass that was inflamed. I had to remove my fibroids, abscesses, retinal detachment. It was year after year of just
adding.
It's interesting for me to hear you talk about this, June, because you tried so many things. You went even to a functional doctor, and so many people think, okay, I'm going to get one-on-one attention with a functional doctor, and this is going to be the answer. But it wasn't the full answer for you. So I'm curious, what did you think was going to be different about this program?
Well, it's funny you asked me that because I think I was telling Dr. Maggie. When I first saw her interviewing that patient, I was like so excited. I was like, I'm going to finally have a functional medicine doctor I can relate to one-on-one. And I'm so excited to start my treatment with her. And then when I realized it was a group thing, I was like, oh man, I'm paying this much money for a group therapy. I was telling her, it's all about me.
It is all about you.
But when I started her program in the group, the first day is how impactful her program is. The first day I was like, wow. And I told all my coworkers, patients, I was like, yeah, it's such and such a money, but the way she teaches in a group setting, not only is it great in you learning, but it's also a great way of supporting each other. And this is where I say mindset is the hardest thing. And this group setting helps us so much with our mindset because it's like almost like she's giving us psychological help at the same time.
I am.
Yes. Other than treating us physically, and I didn't realize how much I needed a group counseling type of situation. And I was drawn to that so much that I went to every mastermind meeting that she offered. Even though it wasn't my day, I was constantly at every meeting because if I felt down and being in a meeting made me feel so much better. Watching a video when I didn't have a meeting to go to made my mindset come up when I was having a little downtime.
But you know what's interesting point you brought up, June, is that we're so used to being one-on-one providers for patients, where we're huddled in the corner with one patient answering their couple questions, they leave next. What I tell people, what we do in a mastermind call, I call it hyper learning, where you learn 10 times faster. We have never taught medicine that way or towards us or towards our patients. So we don't understand that. But think about how much learning you had on that first mastermind where you heard me answer everybody else's questions. How much did you learn in just that first call compared to all your years of research around functional medicine?
Tremendously. I mean, I will come out of my functional medicine doctor 3 years ago and I'd be like telling my mom, I don't get what he said to me at all.
I'm a doctor and I'm a provider.
I'm a provider. And by the time I was like finishing your program or even the middle or even the 1/3, I was like busting out the answers in my head to you, you know, and I'm like, oh my God, even with my foggy brain, I'm like, my answers are coming like this because you've drilled it into us so much.
Yeah.
And I love the way you teach and I love the way you treat your patients. I always say I'm a very blunt person myself, but my patients realize that I care. And I realize in you that you care so much. Just your personality, everything about you. It wasn't just your successes that drew me to you. It was just a very well-rounded person as a provider, but not just a provider, as a person who understood everything that we went through. You don't see much providers sitting there crying with you or sympathizing with you because you truly know what we're going through, you know?
I actually find something in each person in our program, and there's quite a few people in our program at any given time, June, but I find something about each person's story that completely I 100% resonate with. You know, I really have lived through, I mean, every single symptom you've talked about, I've lived through myself, right? So I do think that does make a difference. And yeah, you're right. I am a very empathetic individual, but it's hard. It's not easy to care that much, but I love the fact that I can channel into teaching. Right?
Yes. I'm a very emotional person. So I get emotional with my patients too. And when I see another provider doing that, when my husband was sick, we were just chasing doctor after doctor after doctor. For me to trust someone because he was misdiagnosed multiple times until finally diagnosed him with cancer, my trust just was not there with doctors. And even with my situation, my trust was this much. But like I said, you have revamped me in my trust for providers. I just was at a low point in everything, in my health, in my trust, in my hope, you know, and I thank you for revving that back up.
You know, you've restored my faith in ear, nose, and throat doctors. They're not just surgeons. Hey, this brought up a really good question, and we're going to get to results because people want to know what kind of results you have. But before we get there, I want to ask a question because you said you've been through all sorts of, in your office, you did food allergy testing. You went and also bought some pie online or went to a functional doctor to do some food sensitivity testing. You did Josh Axe's gut testing. Okay, you did all of that and you did all your own Google research and you're a medical provider. How does that whole process differ in what we did with food mapping? How is the process different and how are the results different?
Well, the food testing I did, and we do all this in our office too. The food testing I did was just that, what's called the IgE food testing.
Anaphylactic, right?
Anaphylactic reactions, not the delayed food allergy testing that you did.
And one of the things you've learned in the program, even with the best tests, there are some really good tests. You learn in the program, false positives, false negatives. How was that training like for you to actually understand that even with the best tests, you have to be trained by me on what aren't accurate so that you know exactly which are accurate?
Yeah, with your food testing, I've learned so much so that I've already recommended it to a whole bunch of my friends who I know have food allergies. I'm already treating my patients with the knowledge I know, not my patients, my friends, with the knowledge I know. And all my friends and my patients have asked me because they have a lot of autoimmune issues. They're constantly sick, chronic recurrent sinus infections, chronic migraines. You know, my patients talk to me about other issues chronically that they have. And I said, well, you know what? I've recently found out about this program and I'm very excited about it. But I said, let me try it first and then I'll let you guys know. Because they know if I truly believe, they know. And I've told them, wow, the testing that she does that I didn't even know about as a medical provider, but not just a medical provider in an allergy related office where we do environmental testing, food food sensitivity, candida protocols. We do all of that too. But what you taught me was like mind blowing of, wow, we didn't even touch the surface of what's going on with our patients. I always say we bandage issues.
Yeah.
But I always love to get to the root of the issues. And that's why I love you so much, because that's what you do. You get to the root of the problem versus trying to bandage it.
Because it's so fascinating for me, June, because you have formal medical training and you deal with some of these issues on a professional basis. But how would you compare the medical education that you got in this program to what you received formally as you were going through school?
Oh my God. I was telling one of my nurses, because she's very interested in stuff like this, I was like, it's mind blowing how much I've learned in just a 2-month period versus what I learned in PA school, what I learned in my clinical rotations, what I learned in my job from my bosses. It's just, I don't know how to describe it, but I truly feel like, wow, this is the type of medicine I want to be in, because I hate it when doctors give patients medicine after medicine after medicine, and sometimes they don't even know they're duplicating their medicine.
I know.
And all these patients don't know why they're on these medicines, and they're more sick, and they just don't get explained, hey, I'm going to put you on this, but then another doctor puts them on the same type of medicine, and they don't know what they're taking. They don't know why. But a lot of these issues, I didn't even know high blood pressure or diabetes was an autoimmune disorder. It's fascinating to realize that it is, and what we can do to help it. My daughter had acne. I took her to a dermatologist who put her on Accutane. But now knowing that that's an autoimmune issue too, I regret putting her on Accutane, because what did I do? I bandaged her problem.
Well, but now you're an example and you can actually change her future also.
Yes.
But this leads me to the question. Everybody wants to know what your results are. We know where you were before the program. This is just 2 months later. Where are your symptoms now? Let's go through them.
So when I came into the program, as I told you, my nurses were like, you look so gray, you look emaciated, you just look malnourished. Now people see me, they're like, wow, your skin, just your aura is night and day different from when we first, you don't look gray anymore. I've gained 5 pounds since I started the program, because you helped me fix my digestion. So I'm now absorbing the nutrients and the calories. Fatigue is not all day anymore. I still have it, but it's not all day. It's just specific times of the day. So that's a big improvement for me.
And it's only 2 months. We talk about how
it's only 2 months.
The first 2 months. This is the first 2 months to launch into a year of autoimmune turnaround.
Oh my God, this years. I realized autoimmune issues, 2 months is just touching the tip of the iceberg,
But already fatigue, big difference. Yeah. About pain.
The pain is still there, a little bit improved, but it's still there. But I realized my hormones were tanking. I was just on the floor with my hormones. So like I said, I understand that autoimmune issues can take time to improve because of all the disparities I had, of no hormones, my digestion being horrible. So.
But that's a good point, because we've done a live just the other week, just really about pain, right? What are the underlying issues of pain? And one of the things we talked about was digestion. One of the things was food mapping. And then the third thing Irene was talking about was hormones. And I want people to actually understand, even though you're learning throughout the program about the hormones, really, you're starting to implement the hormone changes with supplements or any sort of hormone balancing more towards the end of the program. So I don't even know if you even started your hormone supplementation or balancing as far as that is concerned yet. But that's where you're going to continue to see those results.
And I'm sleeping better too, because I had severe insomnia, which I would have just very unrestful sleep for 2 hours in a day. Now I'm getting about 6-7 hours of sleep.
I actually said in the last live about pain, if you don't sleep, you can't heal.
Exactly.
And the first thing to do is to actually fix what's the underlying cause of sleep, whether that's blood sugar or hormones. As soon as you fix the sleep and you start to sleep every single night, your body and muscles and tendons actually start to heal. So that's the actual beginning of the improvement in pain, is fixing sleep first. That's why order actually really matters there, June.
Right. And my seborrheic dermatitis is better.
Yeah.
My scalp is not as
that you've been dealing with since childhood.
Exactly. So embarrassing, but yeah.
So there's a link: seborrheic dermatitis, the food, the hormones, and hair loss. It's all actually linked.
Because you found out from my blood tests that I was having autoimmune attack of my thyroid, which I never knew.
Okay, ear, nose, and throat. How has this changed your practice as an ear, nose, and throat provider on starting to examine and diagnose people with thyroid disorders? And now
I'm super excited. Yeah, I'm super excited because you probably don't remember, but I told you my mom, she came into our office just for some reflux issues. And, we felt a nodule, had it biopsied, and it was precancerous. So what did my brother and I rush her to do? him being a surgeon and me being an ENT, let's cut that out. Let's cut the whole thing out.
Of course you did. And now,
yeah.
Did it solve the problem?
No, but that was our way of solving the problem.
Why didn't it solve the problem, June? I'm going to quiz you and test your knowledge.
Because we didn't really solve the source of her issues. We just went straight to removing an organ, but we didn't really take care of her problem. So now she's on Synthroid, but the doctors are just watching her TSH levels,
And she might feel shitty.
Right. And
on top of it, but here's the thing: when you don't stop the underlying autoimmune attack, right? Exactly. You're just basically, she not just has the autoimmune attack against her thyroid, she has autoimmune attack against joints, eyes, nerves, muscle, everywhere. We have autoimmune targets everywhere. You just remove one target. What's to stop from getting rheumatoid arthritis next week? Exactly. Multiple sclerosis next month, Crohn's next year. Nothing when you've done nothing to stop the underlying autoimmune process.
That's why I told my mom, I would love you to start gluten-free. And she's like, I'm 77 years old. It's too late for me. I was like, no, it's not. It's never too late.
My mom told me this at 60. I think I diagnosed her with Hashimoto's. When I found out I had Hashimoto's, I had my mom tested, and she said, I'm too old to go gluten-free. And she goes, I don't feel bad. And I go, well, you don't feel bad until you do. And not every autoimmune disease is mild and simple.
That mirrors my conversation with my mom.
I know that. And she did not. And 3-4 years later, she came down with ALS.
You know better now. And your mom will see the example in you, though, watching you turn around your health. She'll start to notice, oh, June's not having this problem anymore. She's not having that problem anymore. Wow, she has more energy. And so hopefully that will serve as her wake-up call. I'm curious, though, to hear about your family life and how your illness and your ailments had impacted your children and your family, and what that's like now that you're doing so much better.
Well, dealing with medical issues, being sick, and I have a high tolerance for a lot of stuff, but when you have it compounding year after year after year, it gets to you to the point where, and when Dr. Maggie shared about her autoimmune issues, it just really got me here, because I remember telling my 84-year-old father and my 77-year-old mother that I don't want to live. But I don't feel that's something a child should be telling her parents who are in their 80s and late 70s that they don't want to live. That's, to me, such a huge sin of them giving you your life. Well, God gave you life, and then you're telling them, I don't want this life. It's like slapping them in their face, putting a knife in their heart, telling your parents, I don't want to live. And then letting my daughter see me sitting in my garage, in my car, in the dark for hours because I was so depressed, because I couldn't figure out what was going on with me. Nobody could. And I was like, I'm going to die because I don't know what's going on with me. And as a medical provider, I was like, why am I fixing other patients, but I can't even fix myself? And I was just so at the floor of everything. And I'm not saying this to impress anyone. I'm saying this from deep inside my heart. When I say the first mastermind meeting lifted my depression, like 90%, I was amazed. I was like, see, I didn't need Prozac or Lexapro. I just needed a little Dr. Maggie mindset, because I remember what she asked me when I first came onto the program, what is your emotion right now? And I'm like, fear. What is your emotion right now? When the meeting was over, oh my God, I couldn't put it into words, but I had to put it into words. I said excited.
Yeah.
But it was more than excitement. It was gratefulness. It was a sense of this relief of, wow, I know this is just my first day, but I feel so much better already. And we hadn't really done anything but talk about stuff. The mindset was huge for me, and I'm still working on it because I'm a very stressful person. I worry about everything, but whenever I have doubt in my head, I look at one of her videos. I connect with my pod mates. That she has provided for us also is the smaller group meetings where we've connected. And now we want to stay connected, and we support each other through text when we're having hard days. And that's huge, because when you talk to people who don't get it, they're like, oh, just eat, June, just eat. You just have to challenge your body and eat it. I was like, but it's hurting me. Oh, eat it anyway. And my brother's like, isn't there a medicine you can take so you can just eat anything you want? It's those type of misunderstandings. And my brother, who's a surgeon, he's like, you're just getting old. Just deal with it.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh.
So my brother is definitely a boom, boom, boom surgeon type of guy, the typical surgeon of boom, boom, boom. Where'd you hear that from? This is his famous question is, who told you that? Because they just don't believe in that.
Question. What did you find were the most impactful pillars that created these results for you? People want to know the secret sauce, June.
I mean, as I've been talking for the most of this interview, mindset is a huge thing for me personally. Huge for me because my mind just plays so much tricks on me. And although I tell my patients not to Google, I'm the Google queen, where I have to throw my phone to the side.
I know. So mindset, number one. What about any other pillars that you thought was really huge as well?
Oh, I love all your pillars. I don't know if I have a favorite one because they all connect together,
Because you
but
got
the
it.
Hormone, the hormone aspect. And I told you in our mastermind meetings, I'm just fascinated with hormones. It's a little difficult to understand in the beginning, and I'm still trying to get a great, I would tell my pod mates, man, I wish I was her, like right now. I was like, I want to be Dr. Maggie. I was like, how can I be Dr. Maggie when she's been doing this for 20 years?
One of my superpowers is teaching very hard concepts in a very easy, understandable way. Because most of the people coming through the program are not medical providers, although there are many medical providers. And I think my zone of genius is in being able to distill that into something that anybody can understand.
Well, that's what patients appreciate. And me being a patient and my patients telling me the same thing, that's why to me, because I talk to them in layman's terms,
right,
where they can understand. That simplification of such a complicated topic is huge for patients. But you cut it down, simplify so well that all your patients who are non-medical people are like shooting answers out to you like this.
Isn't that crazy? On your first mastermind, you're seeing all these non-medical providers in chat answering. I'm quizzing and people are just answering. I call it popcorn. The answers are coming out like popcorn. And the answers are popping up in chat. I'm like, come on, ladies. Come on, everybody. It's popcorn.
Yeah. But I'm big on digestion too. And the digestion thing was huge for me.
I'm curious about this. You alluded to it a little bit, but what reservations did you have about joining the program beforehand?
Well, my biggest reservation was the cost, because I was going into a 3-month FMLA leave with no source of income. I'm a single mom. I have bills, mortgage, car, so I was just thinking about all of that. But then what helped me was Rosanna, one of your reps. We talked, but I had already convinced myself that, hey, if I don't do this, and every year for the past 7-8 years, I've been forking out $5,000, $6,000, $7,000. And then when I saw Dr. Maggie's video on
price versus cost.
Exactly. And I was like, oh my God, it's so true. And when I was adding up everything I did every year, I've forked out 3 times or 4 times as much.
Not to even think about the lost income you would have if you don't get better.
Exactly. But at the end of the day, I said to myself, you got to do this, if not for you, for your daughter, because I don't want to put her through another parent being so sick and her fear of thinking she's going to lose another parent. So that was the biggest decision maker for me was I wanted to feel better, not just for myself, but for her.
So what would you tell to somebody else then who might be in a similar position? Can I really afford to do this? Is this program right for me? Somebody who's skeptical because they haven't been through it. What would you say?
Oh, I've been talking to so many of my friends and my nurses who have issues. And I've told my nurses who don't make as much money as myself or doctors, but I said, you know what? I know it sounds expensive when the person tells you, hey, it costs this much. You're like, oof, what? But really think about the problems that you're having year after year and how bad it makes you feel, how it's constricted you in your life, not just work-wise, but socially, with family. And you just don't want to be out there and you become like a hermit, which spirals you more into depression. So I was like, look at that. And then look at the cost of the program. And then, me, I have to always be like, Koreans were like, we want buffet style type of food for the little amount of money. So I was like, you're getting a buffet type of style with Dr. Maggie's program, because not only are you getting great teaching from her, and then to self-advocate, and you're getting the MELD program, you're getting when I looked at it all, I was like, my God, this is not much.
Well, we've had independently people evaluate what the value we provide is versus what we're charging. People don't realize on the front end just what it takes. The bigger the problem is, the harder the problem is to solve, the more expensive it does cost to solve it. Right. And the more components that's needed. These are big problems, right? And you do not realize how many people we've had independently evaluate our program who said, I can't believe that you're charging what you're actually charging for what you're giving and providing in this program. But I can't say that. I mean, I can't say that because people are going to be looking at me like, oh, like,
I can.
No, I mean, objectively, and people also don't realize how much medical care costs.
Oh, yes.
What it costs to actually provide medical care is crazy expensive.
At the end of the day, I told all my friends, family, and even patients, because I personally interact with some of my patients. And I was like, you know what? At the end of the day, for me, it was my health that came out on top over the costs and over everything else.
Well, let me ask that though. You took 3 months for FMLA. What happened with work? Where are you at right now with work?
They've reached out to me to ask me when I'm coming back. I will be going back to work on the 11th of July.
Winner, chicken dinner.
I'm going back to work because I feel better. So I feel I can function and treat my patients, but also I will be a spokesperson for Dr. Maggie's program because I truly, 1,000% believe in her protocol.
Not getting paid. She's not getting paid for this.
And I'm not saying this to impress anyone. When I believe something works, I will push it to the hilt. And luckily, my patients love me too, and they believe me. And I've treated my patients sort of very minor type of functional ways, and I've helped them with chronic migraines and chronic sinus infections where they don't get 5, 6 anymore. They don't get anymore. So they know I love this type of medicine already, but I'm not equipped to treat my patients that way. But your program is so all-inclusive and it's helped so much that I would love some of my patients to be able to get better. One thing I know I love to do is help people, but help people in that way and not just making them more sick and not making their chronic issues worse, not trying to have them constantly come in because I'm sorry to say this, it's a business. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My mom's like, if you fix a person that well and they don't come back to you, aren't you going to get fired?
That's the funny thing. So this is interesting. That's a great question. People don't realize that whether you're a functional medicine doctor or you're a conventional medicine doctor, you have to run a successful business to survive, to deliver that care. And that need to make money to sustain it has to be there in any business. Okay. And doctors have a right to develop any business that they want, just like your plumber does. That's not a sin. That's a fact. And so for me, one of the things that I recognize is in conventional medicine, that money model and how those doctors are reimbursed creates a model of where it's really just surgery, procedures, or medicine. But in the functional medicine world, there's also a problem when it's a money-making model, which is if you create dependency, people have to come back and buy your supplements or come to your visits over and over again. That is how you make money. So it behooves functional medicine providers and naturopaths to provide a dependency model where you need them for life over and over again. So it is actually working against me from a financial standpoint to teach people how to stop the root cause so they don't need me again, or they don't need to buy a supplement again. Like, why the hell would I want to do that? Mm-hmm. But I do.
But you do that because you know there's so many people out there with issues. So many people. And you're right, a business is a business.
You have
but
to.
At the end of the day, you want to help people not to be so dependent on even supplements all the time. If I had a business, of course, we have to keep the business alive. But to me, at the end of the day, is treating that person, not as a dollar sign. Mm-hmm. And treating that person to the best of your ability, that in itself will be huge for that provider, because other people will see how much you care and how much you want to help, and you will get more people coming to you, you know?
That's from an abundance model, right? Gratitude and abundance model, which is what I operate in, which is for me is this: how I truly serve someone is to really teach them what's really causing it and to give them the tools to stop the cause, right? And that's not in the immediate future in my own best interest, but that is in true best interest of service. If you're thinking of how you're truly serving someone, that is the best way that a healer can serve someone, period, right?
If everybody thinks like me, and I think a lot of people do,
yeah,
I don't think you will ever go out of business. Yes, this is a business for you too. But the great thing about you is, and I see that because I'm like that too, is that, and I'm not saying other providers don't care, but you go beyond caring. You truly understand what we're going through. And that's huge. That is so huge. And people don't realize how huge that is, you know, but for me, it's huge, because when I talk to a doctor and they're looking at me like, my primary care was like, come here, June, let me give you a hug. Like, he pitied me. I don't need pity. I need you to understand me and where I'm coming from. And I don't feel that connection. But how am I feeling this connection with a provider over Zoom who lives all the way in Oregon, I'm here in Atlanta, and I feel this connection with her I don't feel with you, and you're right here. I remember when I told you, and I know you didn't take it in the wrong way, but I was like, I'm so happy that you were plagued with autoimmune issues.
I am too.
Because it is helping so many people, and that empathy, that caring, but also having gone through it yourself. I don't care if I say this, but it makes you a powerhouse as a provider.
Thank you, June.
You're a powerhouse of a provider with all those attributes under your belt.
So what I see in you is a transformation. I think as a woman, as a mother, and as a medical provider, I see a big transformation in you happening right now. I mean, it's been incredible to witness over the last 2 months. Congratulations on just going through the whole program, going back to work in a couple of weeks. And I'm just thrilled, not just for you, but also for your daughter and for your patients.
Thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Boy, that was an incredible interview and case study that Jean provided us. You know, I think it is always uplifting, but also sometimes heartbreaking to hear the real pain and real struggles that people go through. And in June's case, as a woman, as a mother, as a widow, and as a medical provider herself, I am deeply honored and inspired by June's story of victory around her celiac and progressive victory around her hormone imbalances and her pain. That's totally a deep dive. And we went on the deep dive during the interview, but I think people just don't understand just how powerful a group setting is for medicine, for life, and for health transformations. But I'm glad we were able to dig in, and at least people could see some layers of it during June's interview. But for anybody out there who's really wants to learn more about how group training and group coaching actually makes a bigger, more impactful and powerful impact on their health and the mental health, they can reach out to our team. Thanks, everybody.